right, my stews. On this one, we're looking for the maximum, not the maximum, the minimum value of this parabola. Okay, this parabola is not in vertex form, unfortunately, because there's so many cool shortcuts with vertex form to find the max or min. This is standard form. So just really quick, let's review. The vertex is xy, and that's the middle of the parabola. And the cool part about the vertex is it gives us a lot of information. The x value is the axis of symmetry for our vertex, and the y value is the maximum or the minimum. So that's what we're looking for, stews. We're looking for the y value because that's going to be our minimum value for this parabola. We need a y value of the vertex. And just so you remember, a max would come from a parabola that looks like this because it has a y value that's the maximum y value. You can't have a y value that's higher than that one. And the min would come from a parabola looking like this because the minimum y value would naturally be the smallest y value because all the other y values are greater than it. Okay, so we're going to need this formula. If you don't know this formula, write this formula down. This formula is the formula that gives us the axis of symmetry, aka the middle x. That gives us this guy, the axis of symmetry. That's what this guy does. He's a cool formula to know. He makes things a lot easier when you come to guys that look like this and when they're not in vertex form. So what we need to do is we need to have an A down here and a B up here. So what the heck are those? Well, you have to know the standard form. This is standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. That's what the form this guy is in. So this one, the a, is attached to the x squared. And so over here, we look at our x squared term and we see what our a is. For this one, our a equals 15 over 4. Then we look to our x term to find what our b equals. And in this one, the b is 3, okay? The weird one is c. Because c is not there, a lot of you guys trip out and you guys aren't able to find the a and the b. But the c, he's invisible. Why is he invisible? Because he's a +0. When he's a +0, we don't need to write him. That means the c equals 0. Now, we don't need the c. We only need the b and the a to solve this problem. So let's plug in our b and a and get with it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is multiply out the bottom. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to change this 2 into a 2 over 1 so you guys can clearly see I'm just multiplying 2 times 15 and 1 times 4. Now, there is some cross multiplication here, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to cross multiply. Wait, do I cross multiply? Not cross multiply, silly. Cross cancel. Yeah, that's right, because the 2 and the 4 can both be divided by the same thing. And so because they can be divided by the same thing, I can cross those suckers out and divide them. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. That would make this a 1 and this a 2, which is how I get 15 over 2. Because you go 1 times 15 and then 1 times 2. All right, next. Let's write out this guy in a different way. A fraction. Now, oh man, I hate this. Whenever you get a fraction inside of a fraction, things get a little muddy here. So I'm going to rewrite this to say -3 divided by this fraction. That's how I wrote it right here. -3 divided by this fraction. And when you divide by a fraction, all you have to do is multiply by the reciprocal. That's flipping it. Okay, so I put the 2 on top right here and the 15 on bottom. And then I multiply straight across. When I multiply straight across, I get -16 over 15. And just in case you guys didn't see that happen, what I'm doing is I'm putting 3 over 1. You can put any number over 1 if it's not a fraction. And then I go -3 times 2 and 1 times 15. Now this fraction can be simplified. I can divide the top number and the bottom number by the same number, which is 3. And so I get -2 over 5. Now this is our AOS. This is our axis of symmetry. So what we're going to do with that axis of symmetry is we're going to plug it back in to our function because we need to find the y value, right? We're trying to find the minimum value, so we need to know the y value. So we're going to take that x and plug it into these x's right here. I rewrote it right here with some blanks. Always, always, always use parentheses, please. So let's put our -2 over 5 in each of those and get with it. All right, for this first one, we're squaring this fraction. So that means we're going to go -2 times -2, which is 4, and then 5 times 5, which is 25. Okay, so we have 15 times 4 over 25 now. And for the other one, we're going to multiply straight across. We're going to get negative 6 over 5. And just in case you forgot, we're going 3 times negative 2 and then 1 times 5. Okay, just like we did over here. Okay, we just put the 3 over 1. And then we multiply 3 times negative 2 and then 1 times 5. Over here, I'm going to simplify, cross-simplify right here, the 15 and the 25. What can I divide both of these by? That's a 5. That's correct. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then 25 divided by 5 is 5. And I can do the same thing with these 4s. Man, I love cross-canceling. Because whenever you cross-cancel, we get smaller numbers. I can divide both those 4s by 4. So I get 1 for each of those. If you said 0, slap your hand. Okay? When you divide a 4 by 4, you get 1.
Uno.
Okay, so we're going to go 3 times
Uno.
and then
Uno.
times 1. I'm sorry, not 1. 5. And I get 3 over 5. And then I'm going to add to that negative 6 over 5. So I have 3 over 5 plus negative 6 over 5. I get negative 3 over 5. And my stews, is this a max or a min? Mr. Patey, what are you talking about? It's asking for the minimum value. You're right. That means this is a minimum value. So we didn't have to figure that part out. We just had to look at what it's asking for. Now, if you did have to figure that out, you just have to know that the A, which is 15 over 4, is positive. Therefore, the parabola is opening upwards. That means we have to have a minimum because it's opening up like this guy right here.